This particular radio is my Kenwood D7010. It's a pretty cool radio. I'm really impressed with the way they kind of packaged it all together. It's got tons of features in them. I primarily use this for a couple of reasons. One, just to monitor the APRS packets. Again, that might be a little bit overkill at this point in time at least. But basically what it does is it listens in on the APRS channel and spits out the APRS data as it comes in. So using it for a dual band or a cross band repeater, and I'll eventually start using this for my WinLink as well as for my Echolink sysop stations. But overall, I think I'm really impressed with this radio. It's got a built-in GPS. This is the front end of the radio, what we call the head unit. There's also the actual radio component that's sitting in the back. So as I was saying earlier, this is my Yaesu FT1D handheld. It's got a built-in GPS. It's capable of doing the hybrid mode, which is both digital and analog. I'm going to be working on a separate project here for deploying Yaesu Fusion VHF, UHF repeater coming up this January. So I'm hoping to use my Yaesu FT1Ds and my other HTs as experimental handhelds to test and see how things work with the repeater. I'll do another video on that repeater project when I'm all set to go. So I have two of these, as you can tell, on the left and the top right there, the FT1Ds. In the middle there is the Yaesu VX8R. The VX8R does not have a built-in GPS, but it's a tri-band handheld radio. It's a very cool device. I'm really impressed with it. Alright, so let's move on to this other side here, Kenwood D70s, the radio section of it. Over here is my SignalLink USB. I'm planning on using this for my Echolink as an option. If I choose to do WinLink on my Kenwood D70, or rather D710, I would be using this for my Echolink connected to my PC. And the SignalLink is hooked up to my Bofang UV5, I believe it's called, the model. And think of this radio as a low-end, very affordable. It does what it's supposed to do. It receives, and it's kind of a weird interface in it, but you know what? People who love it really love it. It does its job. It's very simple to use, and it's very affordable. So this is a dual band radio, and I'm planning on using this for my Echolink. And that radio is hooked up to my SignalLink here. That's an external speaker hooked up to my SignalLink to monitor incoming and outgoing packets. And here's my Yaesu FTDX1200. I use this mostly for shortwave 20 meter, 10 meter monitoring. I'll be using this for my PSK monitoring. I also have a decoder installed on it, a CW decoder, and I'll be using that hopefully in the next couple of weeks here. But overall, this radio is pretty slick. I'm really impressed with its just the way it's built, the quality of the radio, touch and feel of the radio, the way it operates, the way it feels in your hands. I think it's really well built radio. I'll do a separate video on this. Again, I don't want to go into too many details on this one, at least in this video. Well, that's my band plan chart that I laminated. I have it handy. Sometimes or many times I tend to forget which band, which frequency, blah blah blah, so I tend to keep that handy. So this is my Buddy Stick Deluxe I got from buddypole.com. Chris is a great guy. He was very helpful in helping me understand their product. I was looking for an antenna that serves not only the HF but also some UHF activity. Although it's not highly talked about from a UHF standpoint, I've had some pretty good luck with it. And mostly the reason why I got this radio is it's because it's very portable. It's easily dismantleable and easily assembled. It's very easily tuned, and then it fits my backpack project that I'm currently working on. This can sit very easily on my backpack frame as I'm walking or trekking or be whatever be it. So it works pretty good. I'm still kind of in experimentation stage with this one. I should be able to have a separate video for it eventually. Alright, so this is the antenna switch made by Delta. This particular model is Delta 4A, and it works pretty good. I'm very happy with the way it's built. Very heavy duty, and I have a diplexer, duplexer, whatever you want to call it. This is for my VHF and UHF splitter, and I use that for that. That's my rig runner power line, power strip. Now this one is 8102, model 8102, and this is hooked up to my Yaesu box here, FP1030A. While I'm here, I'd also like to point out I have this what we call the N0AGI bar made by SunSocket. This is a 250 watt-hour battery pack. You can charge this up using solar or wall-wart or whatever be it. It's got pretty good number of USB ports. It's got an AC 110, 115, 120 or 220 capable power outlet. It's got a cigarette lighter outlet here. It's got a nice display. I tend to collect quite a few antennas and the antenna pouches that they come in, so I tend to keep them just for souvenir. And let's go back to our antenna section here. So VHF section is on the main entry point there, and then the UHF gets split by this Comet antenna duplexer, and then the UHF goes into this Delta 4 switch, and I use this switch for my UHF operations like my Echolink frequency, my upcoming Fusion repeater project. This one is the interesting piece of my Radio Shack. This is my POXAG encoder decoder. It operates on 433.92 megahertz. It does a pretty good job. I'll do a separate video on that, but if you guys are interested in purchasing this, I got this from Taiwan at a reasonably good price, and that's the details for you if in case you are interested in purchasing for your own projects. So let's go over to some wiring section here. I find a whole bunch of wires. Some of these are not used all the time, but they're all hooked up to the end points, if you will. So let's suppose if I were to program my Yaesu 897, this cable is my Yaesu 897 programmer cable made by RT Systems. So basically I take this, I stick it into the powered USB hub right there, and my laptop should be able to see that and to get the programming going. Likewise, I have a whole bunch of cables here. This one, as an example, is my Yaesu FT1D programmer, again from RT Systems. So this is this cable here is an RS-232 DB9 to USB converter cable. So I have a whole bunch of these going on in my shack. So I have about 10 or a dozen of these cables running from each of these radio equipment devices to the back here. So that's the high-level overview of my radio setup. So that's the pager for the Taiwanese encoder decoder. I have about 3 of these that I'm using for experimenting purposes. This is the cable that I modified for my Yaesu VX8R APRS. I'll do a separate video on that. That's the radio side of the things. And now let's go down to the bottom portion of my setup here. That's my home data center. This device is made by N0AGI. That's my dedicated laptop hooked up to my Synology headless server. That's my power strip, obviously. And that's my network switch just for my radio setup. And on this side of my radio setup is my place where I produce my videos or designing, etc. All that stuff happens here. So with that, thank you very much. Would love to hear your feedback. Any comments would be greatly appreciated. We'll talk soon. Thank you. Bye.